Yo, what is good? Bench Mob NBA podcast. We got Mike on the line after I think 2 weeks. We took a week off there.
Oh,
Um,
we took a way more than a week. I feel
uh,
like we haven't even potted once during the playoffs.
we haven't. You're right. We have not. We just got one up with Tim though, so go check that one out. But I knew that we were gonna get something original, get some new topics when Mike was gonna hop on. But we are, and we're gonna get that. Sorry, I should have ended that thought. We're definitely gonna get that. Stay tuned. This is also on YouTube, so shouts out to all the YouTube people. I'm gonna post these on YouTube now too. But what we're doing right now is after the Celtics Raptors game, we're getting on a podcast. And that game was insane. I'll just kick it off to you to start.
I mean, what a ridiculous game. I mean, and I think it was kind of, I think, the quintessential bubble game. Like, that was really the biggest representation, I think, of like what we've seen, which has just been incredible shot making. Like, this kinds of shots that these guys are hitting, and they're hitting them so consistently, is just incredible. I think that my favorite moment from this game was the pivotal possession where Jason Tatum threw the ball out of bounds because he threw the ball at Nick Nurse because Nick Nurse is wearing green pants, which was maybe the best coaching decision in
Huge.
the history of the NBA. Him wearing green pants to distract Jason Tatum to throw the ball out of bounds was genius. I mean, I don't know. And I mean, I just, I quibble a little with that possession that Kyle Lowry scored on. I think that the Celtics had a foul to give there, and I just feel like they had a chance to maybe, I don't know. I just felt like Lowry got like a pretty easy ISO. I mean, it was a great fadeaway like shot that he hit, and like he played 53 minutes tonight, and Pascal
Killed it.
Siakam played 54 minutes. But I mean, yeah, and what a game! I mean, these guys are just incredible. Fred VanVleet, incredible. When Fred VanVleet defensively decides that he's gonna like lock in, he has some of the best hands in the world. It's amazing. Norman Powell. It's just what a well coached team. Both of these teams are just so well coached. It's just great basketball. We're blessed to be able to watch it.
The second overtime, it was literally non-stop buckets. Every single possession. That
I,
happened so many times. That happened down the fourth quarter too. The stretch, I think, or I don't know. It happened a couple times. The second overtime though, everyone's exhausted and they're just knocking down shot after shot after shot. Norman Powell gets the strip, goes all the way down in transition with the and one, making clutch baskets. A clutch three by him too. Like,
Marcus Smart is so good.
why does he?
Mark,
Okay, Marcus Smart. Why do you fall so hard every fucking time? He literally lets his body go just so it looks like a harder foul.
and that's also theme number two of the bubble. It's just like guys realize that if you fall down, you're probably getting a foul call. So guys are just falling everywhere.
Without
I
control.
feel like half the possessions have like six guys on the ground at any one time. It's pretty hilarious. I mean, it's like they're like bowling pins half the time. These guys are like gigantic, but they're just like flopping all over the place. I mean, it's not great, I would say, for the product, but I
I
mean,
think that's
I
a
don't know.
little bit like they are letting themselves go, but I don't know if the flopping is the main problem with the fouls that have been just prominent in these playoffs. It's been one the replay, like, let's run it back, check the replay. That, while I understand why you might want to try that, and I'm not against trying it at all, it just has put us in a spot where it's just too much. It's too much.
Yeah.
The refs are always going to be slightly biased toward the call already made. Um,
I mean, with like the Jimmy Butler call, like for example, and Jeff Van Gundy went on his rant where he was like, "If I'm Adam Silver, I call up, like I like pick up the phone and I call the referees and I say, no, this ball is clear. Like this was clearly a foul. Like you put Jimmy Butler at the free throw line. Like I understand the sentiment. I actually think that like if Adam Silver were to do that, the only people that would be mad would be the Milwaukee Bucks. I think every single other team, every fan in the league, I think everybody outside of the city of Milwaukee would have been like, you know what? Adam Silver was right for calling and being like, Jimmy Butler got fouled. I don't care what the rule says. You fucking change it. But obviously, like, I don't know. every
Are
system
we
like
talking
this.
which foul? Are we talking about the Giannis fadeaway foul?
No, the Jimmy Butler like drive to the hoop where it was like a floater or whatever, and the ball went off of him out of bounds, and he clearly like got like
Yeah, yeah.
fouled off the
Okay.
play or whatever, and then they ended up giving the ball like it was off of him, so they gave the ball to
That's
Milwaukee
stupid.
because they
Yeah,
were
exactly. Okay, I
reviewing the
got you.
possession, but the reason that it was off of him was because he got fouled, and so it caused the ball to like go out of bounds.
If you
You know?
can't give that much
But
leeway,
they
like
didn't call a foul, so you can't add a foul
I
to
know.
a.
Yeah, I got you. When you explained it, I got you, and that's a whole other thing. Like I was talking about just the frequency and the clear bias toward even if it looks like it's a different call, it's just so letter of the law that like when it is ticky tack, that if you review it, ticky tack shit is gonna be confirmed because you're so slowing it all the way down. And yeah, maybe some of them are fouls. Like, is the fadeaway that I initially thought of when you were talking about Jimmy Butler fadeaway, is that like letter of the law a foul? Like maybe, but like come on, is the Dragic contest? We talked about this in detail with Tim, so we don't. I don't want to open up that
Yeah.
can of worms again. But we were talking about Marcus Smart flopping, Kyle Lowry flopping, two of the biggest, most
Oh, the
prominent
two of the
floppers.
biggest floppers. Yeah, it's just
So that's why it's a little bit more evident to us in this series, but I don't think it's like at a agree like I don't know, it's not more egregious than it has been. But I think the first point, the shooting and players just being better in the bubble, basically, is
yeah.
a huge thing right now.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I think that's why Giannis is out of the playoffs right now. Like, it's just that his
That's
style and like his team is like they shot a lot of threes, but it's like they needed points in transition when the game slows down and they just become a half court offense. Giannis can't break down a defense and distribute like James Harden or Luka or LeBron can.
or even
You know,
Jimmy, or even
right?
Jimmy.
Because they don't respect his shooting enough, so they can build a wall when you're playing him in the like in a 7-game series. So it's like all these the teams that are geared towards shooting are definitely thriving more so in the bubble. Like, I mean, there's just no doubt about that. I mean, Miami is just like they're bombs away and it's working. Like Houston, I still think they have a chance, but I mean, I just think the Lakers have the two best players in the series.
And tonight's
But
game, 19 of 47 for the Raptors, 19 of 46 for the Celtics. Both hit 19 threes, both
yeah,
above 40% as a team from the three-point line.
yeah. I mean, we can only talk about this for a little bit, but like, where are we at on Fred VanVleet? Like, if we give Fred VanVleet his own team, is he Malcolm Brogdon? Like, their games are obviously very different.
That's a great comparison. That's a great comparison.
Like, this guy clearly looks like he can take on a bigger role. He's in a situation where there's like a couple other like lead dogs there too. But like, if you give him a lot of money, it's going to look like a lot of money, but maybe it will work because he's like clearly like pretty fucking good.
Look, man, I think after seeing this run, I think Marcus Smart was worth more too. Like there are those players.
No doubt about that.
They're players that are gonna go hard. They're gonna make the right decision. Then even when they mess up, next play they're up. They're grinding. Like the attitude is worth a certain amount of dollars. It's on its own. And then
Yeah.
and then
Marcus Smart wins you 5 games a year just because he's Marcus Smart.
and they can both knock down crucial shots in big moments. We've seen it from both of them. So yeah, Smart is a little bit more physical and like their physicality is different. Like VanVleet is a little bit smaller, but that also allows him to do a little bit more twitchy, like slithery things on offense that Smart doesn't normally do. And yeah, I think both are very crucial for their team. And I'd pay VanVleet 20 mil a year if like that's what it took. Like I'd bite the bullet because I think he's valuable.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I think Nick Nurse just deserves so much credit. He's an amazing coach. Like, he essentially has a backcourt of two guys who are, I mean, how tall is Fred VanVleet? Like maybe 6'2"? Like really? He's probably like
I
6'2".
thought he was
He's
shorter than Lowry. Let me
he
see.
might even be, yeah. Like he might be 6'1". He has a backcourt though of guys that are like don't top out taller than 6'1", either of them.
Both
You
are
know?
both are listed 6 feet on Google.
Okay. So you have two 6 foot guys in your backcourt. So you essentially have like a small, and there he's able to get like Dame and CJ production out of them. It's really amazing. Like what other team or coach would ever like think that something like that would work, and it is so successful. And also just a quick note, like I don't know, like it's amazing that they were able to win that game with Pascal Siakam playing the way that he played. He was horrific tonight. He did hit that one big shot in the second overtime, which I think was pretty promising. But I mean, he was awful tonight.
It's
What was going
it's not just tonight. Like he's had one average to slightly above average game. Like he has not had a star game. The game that game 4 I think it was the last one that they won, he had a decent game, but that was still only like 23 and I don't know, 9 or 10 I forgot the exact stat line, but it wasn't like crazy, you know. It wasn't like a 30-point game, and I feel like you're going to need that from like you need that from your players occasionally.
And he was closing at center tonight on Tice because they had Powell and they had Ibaka and Gasol on the bench like late.
Yeah,
And
him and Anunoby would be 4 and 5. And
yeah,
and
and
Lowry is doing the scoring. I just wanted to say that. Like Lowry has had to be that alpha.
Daniel Tice is literally just dunking everything. He's just dunking everything. Like every single play was like a lob for Daniel Tice. And Nick Nurse just, if you looked at him on the sideline, he was like, he didn't give a shit. He was like, okay, fine, just keep dunking because we can't miss any threes. So we're just going to keep shooting threes and making them. Like, I'll give you your Daniel Tice dunks because somehow, like, I don't know, we're just making every single three. I mean, it's
When
great.
Tice is dominantly bigger than everyone else on the other team.
No, Daniel Tice in this series looks so good. He looks so good.
He's so
And he's a
good.
good player, but he looks awesome here. I mean, I I want Toronto. I wanted Toronto in the Eastern Conference Finals because I hate the Celtics, obviously. But I will say, um, if it is the Celtics, which I think it probably is going to be, they're a better team to me. But if it's the Celtics, I really can't wait to watch Daniel Tice and Bam Adebayo. Those two guys just do so many like little things where it's just like I can't wait to watch them like match up against each other because they can play each other like 35 minutes a night and it's going to be fucking great.
Dude, there's so many matchups in that. Like one Tatum Jimmy, Bam Tice, and then Dragic Kemba is gonna be super fun because Dragic is all of a sudden a fucking all-star.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be a great series. I mean, if that's what we get, I'm very, very excited. I mean,
Let's not get our hopes up because Toronto has proved us wrong time and time
Yeah.
again. I thought this was gonna be Celtics game tonight, like they were gonna put the nail in the coffin, and Raptors proved me wrong yet again.
Kyle Lowry said no. Kyle Lowry said no.
31 and 16 for Jaylen Brown, just crazy on the boards today. Marcus Smart, 23 points, 11 boards, 10 assists, triple double for him, just doing literally everything. Tatum, 29 points, 14 boards, 9 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Crazy.
He was awesome tonight. He was awesome.
Making shot after shot every time they needed it. Lowry, 33 points, 8 boards, 6 assists. Anunoby, 13 and 13, double double for him. Van Vliet, 21, 9 and 7 assists. So Van Vliet having a big game.
Okay,
Powell, 23 off the bench. Let me finish the box score. And then Siakam. I haven't read Siakam. And before him, I read Anunoby. Yeah. Ibaka has 13, 5 of 9. Siakam has 12, 5 of 19. Like, that's a problem.
How many minutes did Siakam play?
54.
He played 54 minutes and scored 12 points. How is that possible? That's ridiculous. Come on, dude.
He just can't really create his own shot. And he is the main focus. Like, he is the main focus, and not only the main focus, but the focus that they can succeed at, because they have Lowry or Van Vliet guarded by Kemba, which isn't always the best. And Lowry kind of found his way, but Marcus Smart was guarding him a lot of the time. Sometimes players just turn up, you know, and Siakam is just not being able to get anything going.
I know. Yeah, he just needs to, I think he needs to figure out a way to get his points in the flow of the game more. Like, I just feel like when I think of Pascal Siakam in the series, it's him like getting the ball in the post and doing like a dribble and like not backing anybody down and then just doing like a little like turnaround like jump hook that's just like a total brick. And I'm like, dude, this isn't your game. Like, why? I don't know. It's just I feel like he needs to like get his points in transition, like some open spot up jumpers, like, create for some other people, like collapse the defense, distribute, like run some of that game and like let your points come in the flow of it. But if you're shooting 20 times a game and like you're only making 7 shots and you're 6'9", like, it's just not going to fly. Like that's
Well,
just not.
he just can't. It's way too easy to single team him. Like he's not gonna break down the guy, so you just switch, and when everyone is on the floor, like when you're going from Smart to Tice at your 2 through 5, like you're always gonna have someone that's gonna be able to guard Siakam. And when Kemba is that switch, one, Kemba's better at avoiding screens and like not having to switch, because he's just quicker. And then two, when that happens, he's not really sure what to do against a double team all the time, and like
Yeah.
he does do it like well occasionally, just not enough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think about like whose tape he should watch because he moves in a pretty funky way,
Maybe
So
Rashard Lewis.
yeah, I don't know. The way he like moves about the court is like it seems uncoordinated, but he's
It's
coordinated. But he's
different, yeah.
not like an athletic freak the way Giannis is. But they move like in terms of it's similar. I don't know. It's weird.
No, I got
But
you. I got
kind of
you.
like leads me into one of the things that I wanted to talk about.
Let's transition.
Yes. Okay. So essentially, like I feel like in the last few years, the popular view, I guess, like since the big three in Miami, and then when Kevin Durant did what Kevin Durant did, I feel like and just Daryl Morey's overall philosophy, the popular view of how do we win in the NBA is we need to get a top 5 player on our team, and like we by any means necessary. Like we need a superstar, build a team around like a superstar, top 5, top 10 guy, and like that's how we have success. And there's absolutely no doubt that that is one path to success. But I feel like Daryl Morey and Sam Hinkie and just general like data people and whatever have made it seem like that is the highest probability of a likelihood of success. Either by drafting.
Probability of a likelihood is redundant, but yes, it's one of those words.
Yeah, sorry. I got
it's fine.
Trying to form my next thought. It seems like the idea is that the highest probability of success is by either drafting, acquiring in free agency, or trading for a superstar player, like a top 10 player, and then building a team around that player. I think if you look at the playoffs, that's true in one respect, but I think that the budding thing that you're starting to see in the NBA, and that is much more attainable by things that you can do behind the scenes that aren't necessarily like gargantuan things that only a few markets or executives have the wherewithal of doing. If you look at the cores of the Celtics, right? Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, like whatever. They're pretty much the entire core of their team is like guys like they drafted and developed. If you look at the Raptors, pretty much, I mean, Kyle Lowry, no, right? Serge Ibaka, no. Marc Gasol, no. But most of these guys are guys that they developed in-house.
Yeah.
Pretty much the core of their team. The Miami Heat are pretty much not Jimmy Butler, right? Not Goran Dragic, but the rest of their team, all guys that were drafted, developed in-house, like found in the G League somewhere, or drafted, or even were like a young free agent that may have been acquired, and they like turn their career around or develop them in a certain way. You look at the Nuggets, they're the same way. Like you look at the Jazz, like recently eliminated, they're the same way. You even look at like a team like the Clippers that outside of like their 2 guys, like that is like a huge part of like their organization. I don't know. I just feel like the player development theory is a way that you can build a team. Like if I told you 5 years ago that the team that has the highest likelihood of reaching the Eastern Conference Finals in 2020 is built around Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Daniel Tice, and like Gordon Hayward, you'd have been like, what? Like, who's the alpha dog on that team? Like, how does that, even 5 years ago is not that long, but it would have been like, that's a really young team, like they don't really have playoff experience, like blah, blah, blah. It's like those guys have grown so much, and they're such young players that like, if you look at all these teams, I just think that it's like a compelling way. And I think it's a model that teams should follow because I think it's so much more attainable than being like, I just need to like bank on like trying to get like James Harden or
Well,
like trade for like a superstar.
100%, and you see that with the turnover in just opinions toward a team, how much one off season can really change everything. Like just look at the Hornets for example. Everyone like shitting on the Hornets last year or the year before, and now like they were pushing playoff with a really young roster. Batum is not gonna be paid after next year. They got like Malik Monk, Miles Bridges. Who else? Devontae Graham was going
I
crazy.
mean, what they
They're
did with
gonna
Devontae Graham and what they did with PJ Washington.
PJ Washington exactly, and then now they have the third pick. They have the third pick now, and like so all of a sudden you're like, oh, Hornets. I could see a pathway if they keep this core together, and then they develop for 3 to 4 years.
But that's the question, right? Is certain teams like the Knicks, right? It seems like the players that they take don't go anywhere in their first 3 or 4 years in the league.
They've been
Like,
the second draft team for so long at this point.
but it's kind of like though, like, yes, that's true, but it's also like those players don't really improve. Like the if you look at the year to year, teams building through the draft are banking on improvement. But like, I don't think that that's the fault of the players themselves. Like, I think that if Frank Ntilikina got drafted by the Miami Heat, that Frank Ntilikina might be a fucking like you
Yeah.
might think of Frank Ntilikina as like a starting point guard, like top 15 like guy in the league right now because he's just like a defensive menace, and they would have developed his offense better, and he was in a better organization.
No reason why he couldn't be Devontae Murray. No reason
Right.
why he could
You know
not
what
be.
I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's just a particular example. My point is like, yes, there are going to be certain exceptions to the rule. Guys that have like a lot of talent, or like guys that might just like figure it out on their own. But I'm saying is like more just like the guys that don't necessarily improve. How much is that necessarily reflective of like them as an individual versus like the situation that they're in, where it's like maybe if Fred VanVleet like if this had happened in a different place, like he would not be a guy, like he definitely wouldn't be a guy like getting like a max contract right now, So it's like but what do you do as an organization to like how do you find the tricks? Like, is there like a special, like a secret sauce? Or are there like certain coaches that are like particularly really good at it? Is there like a program that you need to develop?
I got you. This is all I ever think
Some
about.
teams consistently do it better than others.
This is all I ever think about. It's emotional intelligence. It's being able to understand by talking to a player or a coach or whoever is in the organization that is making hiring decisions from top down. Are you able to understand the work ethic, the motivation, and the reasons why the people you're putting into your organization are going to put forth their best effort to get better and also make everyone around them also better. Now, that's not an easy thing to dice out when everyone is trying to say the same words and say the same thing, but sometimes you can feel it with people when they actually mean it by talking to them and people that they're close with. And then like that's why the Heat culture is a thing, and that's why I was gonna say with the Heat you have Bam, Hero, Duncan Robinson. They found Derrick Jones, but then you also Dragic has been there for a long ass time, and now he's part of that.
True.
And then
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler was just the ideal type of person that they wanted anyway, which matched exactly how they're developing the players, which was such a good fit with Jimmy. And I think it's all about the fit into how you're gonna go about day to day. And also, you want people that aren't gonna get offended, that aren't gonna, complain, that are only about basketball and really don't care too much about other things besides like family. right? Like, what are your reasons for doing it? And some players, we've talked about this on this show too. Some players are in the league because that was their best way to make the most cash, and that's all okay too. But it's being able to identify motives and at every part of the organization.
Yeah, but how do
Because the
you?
physics, because the
My question
physical
is really
traits
like,
are a
but
commodity.
I guess the question is though, like, does that start with one individual? Like, is there an individual that you need in an organization that sets like that their leadership is able to like kind of set like a tone, like a Pat Riley or a Danny Ainge or whomever it may be? Like, is there like a Dennis Lindsey in Utah or whatever, where it's kind of like there's like always a guy that like is setting a particular tone. Maybe it's like a coach or whatever in a certain situation. But like, it, is that what is able to create this environment where certain guys are able to develop better than others,
100%.
or
No, 100%.
are you, or so so is your success if you, is your long-term success as an organization contingent on finding like this like godfather-esque figure that can set an organizational tone, or can any just above average competent person accomplish it through diligent like a diligent process, that's kind of my
No,
thing.
no, no. I think that gets into analytics. Like that gets into like being too process oriented instead of people oriented. Like I do think it's a special ability to be able to read the intentions and the motives of other people. And you need so look at all these teams that you're listing. Like it's Boston Celtics with Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens and like people who are just admired, or it's Miami Heat with Eric Spoelstra, Pat Riley, just people that are like the decision
Yeah,
makers need to
but
be those type of people.
well, but that's what I'm saying though, is it's kind of like a catch 22. Is like, are they those kinds of like they're those kinds of people because they've had success? Have they like they've had are have they had success because they're those kinds of people, or is it just like
Of
you see what I'm
course,
saying?
no, I don't, because it's very clear. There's no like question about it to me. It's like they are
But how
those
do you,
type of people. They are those type of people, and that's why they have achieved the success that they have achieved. And when you find those types of people and put them together, it becomes amplified.
I, I don't know
How do we
because
get
my
here? How do we even get here?
no, okay. Well, because I think it's really interesting in terms of like organizational philosophy, in terms of building a successful long-term winning organization. Like my thing is, I'm looking at a team, right? Like it.
Which team?
I'm thinking of teams like the Nuggets and the Jazz in particular, I guess, where I mean, even the Raptors and the Celtics and the Heat also, like those are particular because they all have basketball executives that are like quote unquote like well known. But it's like when you look at all these teams, right? They're all teams that I'm very interested by because they are consistently, no matter what, whatever iteration they are whatever whoever they're built around, whatever they have some semblance of continuity and they're always winning 50 plus games. It doesn't really matter who's on the roster, but it's like you never really question. Like Miami had a little stint there where it's like, okay, they got Hassan Whiteside, like Deion Waiters, like the Kelly Olynyk contract. It was like, what's going on? And it's like it literally took a year for Pat Riley to be like, okay, no, we're good. Like I'm gonna figure this out. Like I'm gonna find some people off the scrap heap. Like I believe in our organization. Like we're gonna figure this out. And like now they're in the Eastern Conference Finals. So it's like,
Yeah,
but what separates like when you're talking about those organizations, right? Like, it
I told
is
you
it.
already.
But is it the Pat Riley factor, or is like? But okay, but then
No,
how do
it's
you?
it's
Are there
Pat.
only?
No, it's Pat Riley's ability to identify the people that are going to do it for the same reasons and at the same level or similar level or enough of a level that he's comfortable with to keep doing what he's doing at that level. Now that person is also going to demand that level from all the other players, but you're already filtering the players that the coach that you hand selected are going to be giving to him to play with. Those players are also chosen due to their mentality and mindset. It's a whole
Yeah, but
chain reaction. It's the same
why
thing.
can't? But why can't Mitch Kupchak do that?
He doesn't have the ability to.
Why?
Because it's an emotional intelligence is a skill, and not everyone has that skill in the way you need it to be successful.
But why can't Mitch Kupchak hire other people?
Why is LeBron the best basketball player? Why?
No, but
Why is Tatum one of the best young players? Why? Because
I'm
he's
saying
better at
that
basketball.
I'm saying no, but I'm saying though that like I don't understand. I don't see how it's
How?
possible that like Mitch Kupchak. Why can't Mitch Kupchak hire people with that kind of ability to bring that out in his
He's
players?
not as good
What
at
like
reading it. He's not as good, or he has other motives, like whatever favors he owes to his other friends, or there's some sort of other dynamic, or there's some player like or. But
but
if it's all there's
those
all
abilities
reasons.
those abilities disappear when they leave. Like okay, so it's like it's kind of like the Patriot effect, right? Where it's like okay, if I'm like average random GM guy, right? Where it's like I'm like middle of the pack. Nobody thinks anything special of me. I'm just like a random guy. And I want to turn my organization into an elite organization, but it's not one right now. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, my first move would be like, okay, I want to hire people from elite organizations. So it's like, are these people that are doing that? Are they just like hiring the wrong people from those organizations and they're not seeing
Or
the
not
like the ones that
dude,
have abilities? Or like,
this is the last thing we're saying on this because we have taken this way too far. It's so
I think
simple.
it's interesting.
It's so simple. It is interesting, and that's why we've talked about it for a long ass time. But it's also not that difficult. A random person on the street would go to random organizations and could hire the best types of people. But if he or she is not that type of person, also, their management style will corrupt the trust that is needed to make the tough decisions that might fuck up, but you're not scared that it will fuck up because the organizational culture has been established that they trust you. It's a trust. It's like compassion, empathy, and hard work, and like belief in each other. Like there's a lot of different things that go into it. But if you are not that person that can perpetuate that culture, then the organization will not. And you could get away with it if there's like a certain player or maybe a certain assistant coach or like, one or two non-crucial people. And when I say non-crucial, I don't mean like, but you'll understand what I'm saying. Not like the GM or the head coach or like the best player or two players or the captain of the team. Those need to be consistently on the same page for there to be continuity and for you to be able to build continuity out to the branches of the team and the organization. And let's move on. I think that was very
No,
clear.
that makes sense. Well, I think that the conclusion to take from that really is that um, if I were a owner and I wanted to fix my team, I would just give Dennis Lindsay like $100 million because he seems to in Utah have that whole thing down pat where he just like he churns out 50 plus win teams. I mean, he's in Utah, so he struggled to like get like he's not going to get any free agents, and he hasn't been able to trade for like a top five guy. But I mean, he consistently puts together great winning teams and develops good winning players that go on to have great careers elsewhere. So he seems like the guy where it's like, okay, I would just like throw a boatload of money at him because, yeah, I mean, finding a Masai
But
Ujiri or a Pat Riley isn't the easiest thing in the world. You might have to go with the guy who's a little bit more under the radar, but seems to be having similar results.
yeah, I mean, he identifies players, he identifies coaches. Like the GM should be, I'm not should, but like the GM's value is definitely up there with top players, I think, in terms of like how decisions and organizations can be made. Like because the relationship and the happiness with those players, with that top player or the other players that you're selecting, keeping those strong keeps the whole thing strong. Like players that are happy and not worried and coaches that are happy and not worried are going to practice more comfortable. They're going to play games with a more focused mindset. There aren't other shit that's going on. And you're also the one choosing the players and the coaches and whatever. So it's just, yeah, it's an up down thing. I definitely think about that. What was you had two other topics? I think it was something about
Uh,
Giannis. Was that the organizational
okay.
thing?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll mention the Giannis thing. I mean, the point is kind of moot now because he didn't play. But I was under the impression that he was going to play. In Game 5. Honestly, I was kind of disappointed that he didn't. But my suggestion was going to be that because I figured, okay, so the Heat are preparing a game plan, right, for with Giannis and without Giannis, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm looking at it from Coach Bud's perspective, right? And I'm like, okay, we're down 3-0, right? And no team has ever like come back from like 3-0, right? So we're down 3-1 now, but it's like this is an insurmountable task. Like, yes, Giannis is healthy, like we're good, but like no team has ever done this before. So we're gonna need to pull out some serious stops. Like we're gonna need to like go balls to the wall, just try whatever we need to try in order to win this series. With that in mind, this is the hypothetical that I would have suggested. So, with Giannis healthy and active, what I would have done is I would have gone like game time decision, game time decision, game time decision, right? 10 minutes or 15 minutes, whenever you need to get your lineups in before tip, you say that he's active, but you say he's not starting, right? You like, that's all. You don't put any information out there. You're just like, he's not starting, but he's active, right? You play the first quarter, no Giannis. He's dressed for the game. He's just on the bench. You play the lineup that won you the end of game 4 without Giannis. You go whole first quarter. The Heat are like, what is happening? We put in our Giannis game plan, but now he's not playing. So we took our Giannis game plan out. Now we have our non-Giannis game plan. We don't know what's going on.
I'm gonna stop. The series is over. The series is over. Completely hypothetical. And why do you need to care about what you had planned for if you're in the moment at that time?
Because you're
that's
just
some dwelling ass shit.
The point is,
why be confused? Possession to possession. Why be confused?
Because, dude, the amount of things that they put into these games, because they're adding to the uncertainty of the situation. And then my idea was halfway through the second quarter. That's when you unveil Giannis. That's when he gets up off the bench, just throws the entire game into. My only point is that to win a series coming back from 3-0, you need every possible fluke or swing of luck or trick in the bag that you could possibly do. So if he was going to be able to play, you shouldn't just fucking line him up and play him normal and try to play him straight up and win a best-of-7 series. You need to fuck with them. You need to fuck with their heads. You need to win a weird, legendary, quirky game to send it to them. Listen, that's what you got to do.
Yeah, maybe on teams that might work, but Miami's not going to get flustered by you fucking up with your lineups. Like, no chance. No chance. Anyway, I'm not even gonna get to your other crazy topic.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, listen, we'll see what happens when we get to the conference finals. I'm sure it will become a talking point. If we get Lakers and Clippers in the conference finals, I'm sure that some pundit, some talking head, will mention seriously that they should do it in the Staples Center.
No, they wouldn't, because no pundit that takes themselves seriously thinks that's a good idea.
Yes, there are like a million pundits that don't take themselves seriously.
That's very true. All right. I think
Smith is definitely going to say something like
that might be a good ending. There's a lot of other shit going on, but we'll definitely get on the pod.
Oh yeah, I do at one point want to talk about Steve Nash, coach. Yeah. I'm very upset about it because because they're going to be awesome.
I would love for KD to win as many more rings as humanly possible.
They're going to be awesome.
KD,
they're going to be so good. Steve Nash is going to be like an amazing coach. There's no doubt in my mind. He's going to be an awesome coach.
If he figures out Kyrie, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be super fun because Kyrie is tough. Kyrie's one of those players that, like, if you don't have the coach that's gonna vibe with him and make him play as well as we know he can play, it's not gonna work. And him being under LeBron's, whatever that relationship was, really helped him at least focus for the games and stuff. And then that kind of, he got over that.
I think Kyrie's always been Kyrie. I just feel like you just need a force bigger than Kyrie to balance him or to kind of take the spotlight off of him.
Yeah.
And I think he's got that.
He cannot be he cannot be the spotlight. And also game style wise, like on the floor, I feel like Steve Nash influence on Kyrie's game is not a bad idea at all.
Yeah, well, I wonder what he's gonna do, like, system wise. I think it's gonna be like just like a lot of flow. Like, they're gonna get a lot of ISO possessions because Steve Nash is gonna make a calculation where it's like, okay, Kevin Durant and Kyrie ISOs are not that bad in and of themselves. I'm gonna give them to these guys because that's gonna keep them happy. I'm not gonna force them into a system that's going to make them unhappy because Steve Nash, like you said, and this is a great place to end it, has particularly great emotional intelligence.
Amazing emotional intelligence, 100%. And I just want to see that Kyrie, Dinwiddie, Levert, Joe Harris, and then Katie at the 5 lineup. Just like
That's not happening. Karis
stupid.
LeVert.
I
That's
know,
not
I
happening.
know, I know. I kind of want them to keep him, but I feel like he's kind of
He's
outgrown that role.
he's he's a goner. There's no doubt
Yeah,
about it.
yeah. Too much value can be attained.
And you know Durant and Kyrie, they want a third guy. They want one of their boys that can do more than DeAndre can.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see. There's a lot of other trade ideas and rumors that I've been becoming aware of, and maybe we'll just do a podcast on that next time. But
Sounds good.
peace out, guys. Appreciate y'all tuning in at the Bench Mob NBA. Hit us up. Peace.
Later.